everybody's got a story.
Yeah.
Everybody has something to say. I read somewhere as I was doing my homework and research about ghostwriting, when people die, libraries go with them. And I
It's
thought,
so
whoa,
true. Yeah.
right? And I thought, whoa, right? Because when I talk to people and I hear their stories, I immediately say to them, I says, you got to write this stuff down. They go, oh, I will. I said, if you don't write it down and your kids don't, it's gone.
Welcome to Wisdom on the Front Porch. Subscribe, ring the bell, like, and share the wisdom. Pull up a chair and join us with today's guest.
So tell me a little bit about what you do, who it is you do it for, and why you do it.
Okay, that's a loaded question, but sure. So I am an author, speaker, and ghostwriter. I am a retired salesperson. I was in sales for 25 plus years. And during that career, I was laid off several times and would go to networking groups to support each other. And
Mm.
I used to go to this one group on a regular basis, weekly basis. And over time, I noticed that uh, the people I was making friends with were getting a little upset and they were despondent and they were not happy and pissed off with the job market, all the bad things that are connotated with people that are looking for work. And
Right.
I said to them, I'm in sales. I got to be around people that are positive and upbeat. And I don't, I'm not clairvoyant, right? But you maintain this attitude that the world owes you a job. It's not good. It's not. No one's going to want to talk to you. It's like
Yeah.
like you're walking around with your tail between your legs and your chin on your chest, and woe is me, and the world stinks, and the market's horrible. I'm like, look, it, you keep that up. Again, I'm not clairvoyant. A year from now, you'll still be coming to this group because
Yeah.
no one's going to want to talk to you because you're not doing a good job of selling yourself. And as soon as I said that, I had that epiphany where the light bulb goes off over your head, right? And I thought, you know what? Let me be one of these speakers because they traipse in these speakers and teach you how to write resumes, research companies. And I thought, let me be one of these speakers who teaches these job seekers that when they're looking for work, they're really selling themselves.
Yes.
That they are no longer graphic art designers, they're no longer accountants, they're no longer pastry chefs, they're no longer data analysts. They are salespeople. And there's a science to selling, but there's also an art. So I thought about making a presentation. So I quickly made down some notes, spoke to the moderator about it, and he said, yeah, why don't you do that? Because we're always looking for fresh blood. I said, sure. So I figured I'd do it like once or twice, give back to the community, slink back into the audience, and whatever. 20 years later, I'm still making almost the same presentation because selling yourself is a set of principles I suggest that are based on the art and science of selling. And there's a right way to do it and a wrong way. And uh, every time I'd make a presentation, and this is back in the day, in the early 2000s, right? People would say to me, where's your book? I'm like, what book? Oh, everybody who makes a presentation sells a book. They have tapes in the, remember tape? Remember cassette tapes, right?
Yes.
CDs. Everybody sells stuff in the back of the room. I said, I don't want to do it. I don't have the time. I said, Joey, your presentation's a book. You're book worthy. I'm like, all right, whatever.
Oh, wow.
Well, I'll tell you, every time I made that presentation, and I've done other several presentations as well, people would say, where's your book? I kept pushing it until finally I said, all right, I'm going to write this book. Found myself an editor. She helped me publish the book. I put the book out, and the people are like, Joey, this isn't just for job seekers. This is for everybody. This is a this is a guide to leading and living a positive-minded life. And I said, as an author, I said, oh, I appreciate the feedback, but you can't write for everybody. You got to have an audience, a targeted audience, right? So,
Absolutely.
and I'm preaching to the choir with you, but this is what I'm telling these people: is that look, when I wrote the book, I pretended that I had three people in a room with me, sitting at a table. I had somebody recently transitioned or fired or downsized, a kid fresh out of high school or college, and or a person who's been out of work for 10, 15 years, dealing with a kid or an elderly parent or whatever the case may be. So I have these three people sitting at a table with me and I'm having a conversation. People have said, when I read your book, I thought I was sitting at a table, like it sounded like you were talking to me.
That's
And
awesome.
I was like, okay, I did my
Good for
job.
you.
So now I'm writing my second book, which is a follow up to the first. And now that I'm retired, and I'm sitting at the beach. I live on the Atlantic Ocean. I'm looking at the Atlantic right now, and I love to write. And I'm on these networking groups. I even moderate a networking group. I'm thinking to myself, why don't I become a ghostwriter? I love to write. I ask a lot of questions. I'm in sales. I ask a lot of questions. My kids will say, Dad, you're interrogating people. So no, when I talk to you, it's an interrogation. When I when I talk to prospects and clients, they're just questions, right? And anyway, I've now become a ghostwriter, and I am loving it. I already have a client. I'm working. I have a potential client this Friday. I have another call with him, and so it's just And again, I'm preaching to the choir. Everybody's got a story.
Yeah.
Everybody has something to say. I read somewhere as I was doing my homework and research about ghostwriting, when people die, libraries go with them. And I
It's
thought,
so
whoa,
true. Yeah.
right? And I thought, whoa, right? Because when I talk to people and I hear their stories, I immediately say to them, I says, you got to write this stuff down. They go, oh, I will. I said, if you don't write it down and your kids don't, it's gone. You got a story there. I'm happy to help you write it. And here's what I've discovered. Again, part of my homework. And again, I'm preaching to the choir, but here's how it works, right? Everybody's got a story. Here's the challenge. They're too busy. They don't want to write it, or they just don't have the wherewithal. They don't know how to write it. And that's
Right.
okay. I'm retired. I got the time. I have the wherewithal, and I love to write. So let's have a series of conversations. Let me find out who you are, what you're all about. Tell me your story, and we'll go back and forth with a couple of reiterations. I'll hear what you said. I'll transcribe it. And when we're done, your story, your voice, my words. And that's what I do. And it's great.
That's
I love it.
cool.
All right.
Thanks for pulling up a chair with me on the front porch today because we have Joy himself here. I'm just so glad he's here. Just really lifted up my day already. Really appreciate you being here, Joy, and appreciate you talking with our audience. So let's settle in. Let's have this great conversation. And we're going to talk a little bit about writing, a little bit about ghostwriting, but I love the message he has about selling yourself. And it's not just selling yourself, but every day we meet new people. I've talked about it, everybody's a stranger, but remember, we're a stranger too. While we're thinking about others, they're probably thinking about us. So, how do you present yourself in a way that um, not only helps you, but also helps them? Because people love it when you work together. So, Joy, I'm going to quit talking. I'd rather hear you today.
No. I love listening to it. It's a great segue to what I do. And it's as a retired salesperson, I sold for about 25, 30 years. I've learned that there's a science and an art to selling. And I believe that we sell every day. And doesn't matter who you are, where you live, how much money you have in the bank, how many children you have, how many boyfriends, husbands, girlfriends, wives. It doesn't matter. We sell every day our thoughts and ideas to the people all around us, our friends, our family, our accountant, our hairstylist, every day. There's a right way to do it and a wrong way. And I've just learned over the years that you come in with an attitude of being positive and upbeat. I'm not going to guarantee that good things will come from that, but if you're negative, all bets are off. I mean, it serves no
Mhm.
function, right? You
Mhm.
talk about strangers, and I moderate a networking group for unemployed professionals. It was given to me about a year ago. It's been in existence for about 20 years, but I've been moderating it for about a year now. And again, people who are on there mostly are unemployed professionals. But as I'm bringing in speakers who are talking to this group, I'm learning that and seeing that their content is not just for job seekers. It's for anybody. It's now. I tout it out. If you breathe, you're a potential attendee for this networking group. And what I've learned is that, or what I tell people is, when I end every call, it's every week we have this call. I say, look, we're here. I know you're unemployed, or even if you have a business, right? Especially if you're unemployed, I don't want you on these calls. I want you out churning the wheels of the economy, right? But until that happens, we're strangers to each other. So let's support each other so that supporters become strangers, strangers become supporters, because we're all in this together, right? You're not going to do this by yourself. And there's a way to sell that concept to people, and there's a way not to. And over these last few months, as I've been moderating this group and other groups I've been in, my message is crystal clear. Positive beats negative every day. Annie was right. The sun will come out tomorrow. It may be cloudy, but it's coming out, right? And so it's something to look forward to. So whatever nonsense took place today, whatever bad things happened, tomorrow's another day. And when you're selling, you can't bring the negative stuff with you. Nobody wants to hear from that. Here's what I tell people. I said, when you're the irony of selling yourself is that it's not about you. It's about them, right? Whether it's a client, a prospect, a hiring manager, they don't care about you. I'm telling you, I've been in sales. I know they don't care about you. They care about what you can do for them, how you can help them, how you can get the monkeys off their back, because they're not interested in that 15 PowerPoint presentation on how your company started. They don't care. Doesn't help them. It's how can you help them? And so you got to put them on a pedestal. I'm not saying give away the farm. I'm not saying bend over. I'm saying put yourself in their shoes. In the famous words of Dale Carnegie, and I give him a lot of credit for this. This is his, not mine. If you want to win friends and influence people, be interested before you're interesting. In other words, ask questions, right? Ask about themselves. Ask who they are, what they're all about, where have they been, where are they going, right?
Because you have to tell our audience what your son said to you. We talked about that earlier. That was so funny.
So as a salesperson, right? You gotta, unless the client or the prospect tells you what you need to know, you gotta ask. And here's the thing. Here's the litmus test. Your questions and your philosophy, your demeanor has to be genuine, authentic, and sincere. If it's not any of those, they can see right through you, right? So in the process of learning about my clients and my prospects, I ask questions. My son said, "Dad, those aren't questions. You're an interrogator." So I said, "Yeah, when I'm with my kids, I'm an interrogator, right? But when I'm with prospects and clients, I'm carefully thinking about genuinely, authentically, and sincerely, how can I help you unless I know about you, right? I need to understand. I used to sell swimming pools, and people would call us because they saw we were building a pool in their neighborhood, and they'd call up our 800 number, say, send a salesperson to my house. So we'd all get the leads divvied up. I would go to a house, knock on the door, and we knew why I was there. It wasn't a done deal. I had to sell them on the pool. So I'd go into this home with Mr. and Mrs. Customer, sit down at the dining room table or the kitchen table with a pen and a paper. No literature, no samples. And I would start asking them questions. Why are you getting the pool? Why are you getting it now? Who's going to use it? Who is it for? Who lives in the house? Any children? Any senior citizens? Anybody with a disability? I mean, on and on and on. How are you going to heat the pool? Are you going to heat the pool? Do you need a diving board? Do you really want a diving board? I mean, I asked them all these questions, right? And so one person said to me, listen, Joey, I'm not buying anything from you until I get to know and trust you. And I said, I understand. That's why I'm asking all these questions. Because the pool I want in my yard is totally different, probably, from the pool you need in yours. Well, until I know who you are, what you want, I got to ask you these questions, because here's what's going to happen. If you agree with me and you end up trusting me and you sign on the dotted line, here's what's going to happen. Your backyard's going to turn into a war zone. It's going to be destroyed by our heavy equipment. We're going to dig a big hole. There's going to be mud. Trees are going to be uplifted. It's going to be a nightmare. But when we're done and you're sitting around your beautiful pool, which you helped me design, and it's to your specifications, not mine, yours, and people are hanging around with you at the pool, and they say, Bill, where'd you get this beautiful pool? What do you think I want you to tell him? You got to call Joey. He'll tell you a great pool. He's going to ask you a lot of questions. He's going to ask you a lot of questions, right? It's going to sound like an interrogation, but he really is genuinely, authentically, and sincerely concerned about getting you not only the pool, but the whole environment around that pool that fits you and your family, not him and his. Well, that's not rocket science. That's being a decent human being, right? And I
Yeah,
don't
and
know.
we need to do that with everything we do. I liked what you said earlier because it goes with what I've said before, is you said you have three different people in front of you when you
Right.
started writing. And I always have, I have the book, which, yes, I'm finally getting the free book done. It will be out this year. It's called Who's Sitting in the Chair?
Okay.
Because you have to know who you're talking to. If you want to reach the masses, you have to have one person that you know who you're talking to. Because it helps you get focused. It helps you understand their needs and their wants and their desires. And when you are selling yourself, you are fulfilling the other person's wants, needs, and desires. You want to go to a movie, but your best friend or your spouse or whoever wants to go to a different movie. Well, how are you going to compromise? We'll go to this one tonight and that one tomorrow. But maybe you can't do that. Maybe you've only got this one that you can do this month or something, say.
Right. Mhm.
So you want to sell your movie. So what does the other person like that you're going to recognize and say, you know what, this movie has action in it, or this movie has a love scene in it that's just outdoes all other love scenes without being gross and disgusting. It's just pure emotional, um, I don't know what the words are, come
Bliss, bliss,
with
joy.
something.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Mhm.
so you've got to we sell every day, and it's weird for people to hear that, but we do. Which show do you want to watch? I want to watch this show. Where do you want to go this weekend? Well, I want to go this place. And we compromise, we find out what's good. Maybe you can do both, maybe you can do three or four things. But you've got to know why? Why do you want to do this? Why does the other person want to do that? On my website, I have a freebie page, and it's one of the things on there is how to keep your sanity during Christmas. And one of the things I say, when you have blended families, you might have 5 sets of grandparents, and you're going to have one grandparent that says, you absolutely have to be at my house on Christmas Eve. Well, you've got four other grandparents who want you at Christmas Eve or Christmas
Mhm.
Day. So how do you do that? One, you find out why. Why this particular day? Why does it have to be Christmas Eve? Why can't it be Christmas night or 2 days before or the weekend before? Find out what's really triggering that. And you might be really surprised it has nothing to do that it's Christmas Eve. It has to do with an emotional connection that they have with it, with something that they share with you, and then that just makes it so much more impactful. um so those are all things to look at, so I love that you brought that up.
Yeah, it's even in my own family, we're a blended family, and there's a
Yeah,
lot of going on. I used to joke with my kids. They probably had a spreadsheet to decide who goes where when and who gets who and what. And we just said, you know what? We don't have, it doesn't have to be on that day. It could be 3 weeks before, it could be 4 weeks after. Who
yeah,
cares? It's, with all due respect to Hallmark, it's just a day on the calendar, right? Here's
yeah,
the other thing. If we choose not to do it on the day, whatever the day is, traffic's going to be less. Stress
that's
is going to be
right.
less, right? There's just
That's
going to be less stuff going, and we get to enjoy each other and our company. And what's wrong? That's the reason we're getting together, right? Not because not,
that's
be-
it.
not because some company that makes greeting cards said this is the day that we all have to hit the roads or go to the airports and be stressed out of our brains, right? It's just
Yeah,
unnecessary. It's enough stress in our lives. But yeah, you're right. It's not.
yeah.
Yeah, just
So
go with the
one of the
flow, right?
suggestions I make is, once our kids started getting married, and then of course you have all those families to
Yeah,
deal with. And we always celebrated Three Kings Day, which is January 6th,
yeah,
Epiphany. And so that actually worked out. We didn't even
yeah,
think about this part of it, but it worked out. We get all those after Christmas sales. We find out what the kids didn't get, what they really wanted,
yeah.
and then we can give that to them on Three Kings Day. Now,
Mhm.
sometimes it's a little harder because they're back in school usually, and so you can always do it the weekend before, whatever. they get three presents, a big one, a medium, and a small one. And I loved it when we would celebrate that. And the kids would look out the window and see if the camels had come and eaten the straw and the hay that they left for them and the carrots and apples and see if the water was gone out of the little water trough. And it was just so much fun to celebrate that with it. And it didn't conflict with anybody
Right.
else and their major Christmas holiday. And it's like,
Right.
we still did a little something, but for
And you're
us, it
creating
was a
wonderful
great way to,
memories,
yeah,
right?
and that was the best part of it. It's not competition. It's not how much can we cram in one day. And I watch my one of our kids and their families, and those kids are totally exhausted
Right.
3 days, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, the day after Christmas, in fact, the day before Christmas Eve. They've got 4 days there and they are so exhausted afterwards. And they got mountains of toys. And it's like, how about we just go to the park or we go to Carlsbad Caverns or we go to White Sands or do something just as a family and enjoy it that way and just have, maybe three small gifts. I don't know, maybe a bucket
And
shovel
create
to play in the
memories, right?
sand.
Create memories,
Yeah.
and not have to amass stuff that needs to be maintained, taken care of,
Yeah.
organized, put away, remembered where it was stored. It's enough already. But
Yeah, yeah.
everybody's different. Yeah.
Last year, what I decided to do, and we're going to implement it this year, is we're going to gift them a holiday somewhere. If
Nice.
they don't want to take a holiday, then you're going to have a really nice restaurant.
Yeah.
I know that all of our kids go somewhere, do something, whether it's hiking or to the national parks or whatever. And so we're just going to gift them that for Christmas
Cool.
because you can only have so much stuff. And then your house is bursting at the seams and you're tripping over stuff or the dogs get into it or, you know,
I
but
could
they
I
still
could
do
have
all that other fun stuff with the other families too. So,
I could have probably bought a house to store all the Power Ranger toys I bought way back when my boys were growing up.
yeah.
I don't have any of them now, nor do I have the money I spent on all those toys. But I could have bought a house to hold them all.
Isn't that something?
Crazy. It's just wacko.
Yeah.
I'm just as guilty, right? We're all right.
Oh, yeah.
We all get sucked in. We all get sucked in. But
Yeah, absolutely. And it's fun. I mean, you see that joy and excitement on their faces and it's who doesn't want to receive that, you know?
but I will tell you this: my kids were also joyful and happy when I took a washing machine box, cut a couple holes in it, and they made it their own fort.
Yep, absolutely.
Right?
And,
It worked.
and
It worked.
the cardboard boxes they come in are more fun than the toys.
Yeah, I used to make cars for them. I used to take my old ties that I didn't like anymore. I used to make like a strap, tie it to a box, put a hole in the box, and they would walk around with the car like it was like, and they were ecstatic. It was the best. It cost me a dime, and I got rid of ties, which was great.
There you go.
Whatever they want to
Great.
wear. Right.
Another use for ties.
Exactly. Right.
Oh, I love that. I love that. So, how do you approach people? Do you just I know you have books. I know you have this meeting place. But do you coach people?
I do. It's interesting. Coach. I like to say guide and
Guidance.
support. Guide and
Me
support.
too.
Right. Yeah. I
Me
mean,
too.
everybody claims to be. I don't think I'm a coach per se, although I think people will tell you that I do that. I just, again, I try to put myself in their shoes and how I would want to be treated if I needed help and assistance. And so, I'm from New York. I'm a pure, true blue New Yorker. So unfortunately, I hate to say this, have many more opinions than I do of filters. So I'm getting better at this, but even now, some words come out that shouldn't, and they come out at the wrong time, and they're directed at the wrong people, or they're directed at the right person at the wrong time, whatever the case may be, right? But I'm learning that I can't do that because everybody's coming from a different place, and not everybody's like me, thank God, right? And I've got to be sensitive to who they are, again, where they're coming from, where they are, and where they're going. And I've learned over the years, just ask the right questions and just be quiet and let
Yes.
them
Yeah.
speak and just, and build upon. I in my endeavors to moderate this networking group and other groups that I'm working with and meeting with people and interviewing people now that I'm a ghostwriter, I'm learning from Larry King. May he rest in peace. God rest his soul. Larry King, he was a pretty well-respected interviewer. I mean, he spoke to
That's
everybody,
good.
right? I mean,
Yeah.
there isn't anybody who didn't get interviewed by him, I think, right? Other than you and me, right? But in doing my homework and learning to become a better interviewer, I learned from him this really cool trick. Not a trick, a tip, technique. When he would prepare for
Technique.
an
There you
interview,
go.
he wouldn't do any research on the person he was talking to. He would just open the book or open the broadcast and start asking questions. And every time he'd ask a question, the answers would come back. And based on the answers, more questions would be generated. And the reason
Oh,
he did
yeah.
that was because he wanted it to be open ended and not closed. He didn't want to come in with a preconceived or pre selected list of questions based on what he learned. He wanted to give his guest the floor. And he
Right.
and he did that by going with the flow. And I'm like, you know what? If he could do that, I'm going to learn to do that, right? And
That's
that's
nice. Because
right.
that's what I do a
I don't
lot
know.
of times. It's like, oh dear, I didn't do my, like today, I lost the papers for
Right,
you, so I didn't know anything. So here we are.
right.
And it's a great conversation.
I'll give you an example, another example, right? So I used to sell cars. I used to sell cars, and my first day on the job, they gave me, I'm not exaggerating, a pile of manuals, of brochures, right? Start reading and learning about these cars and trucks. Okay. That's what I did my first day. Sitting at my desk, no computer, just these brochures. Second day, I'm sitting at my desk. I've maybe gotten through maybe a quarter of the brochures. And I look up from my desk and I see out in the lot a couple walking around some of the cars. And I don't see anybody going to talk to them. I'm like, that's something's not right with this picture. I leave my catalogs. I go outside, introduce myself, and they want to go for a test drive. I go, okay. I go back in. I go get the key from the closet, and my manager's there, and he says, what are you doing? I said, there's a couple outside. They want to go for a test drive. He said, we haven't even gotten your computer yet. I said, well, let me ask you a question. If I had a computer, would I take it with me to the test drive? Oh, no. Well, doesn't matter. Let me go help these people. I sold them a car my second day on the job before I had a computer on my desk because it's not about me. It's
That's
about
right.
them. These people were on a lot looking for a car. Nobody was helping them. Here we go. I mean, this is not rocket science. It's not rocket science. It's not that we make it so difficult. It's not necessary. Be yourself. Treat people the way you want to be treated.
Yeah.
If I was going to a lot to buy a car, I'd expect somebody to come out to me and say, "May I help you?"
Right.
So I did the same.
Right.
Sold a car, second day on the job, before I had a computer, before I had memorized anything in those brochures. It was like, oh my God. Anyway.
That's good. You're the second person I met today that started out selling cars.
Oh, okay.
So, and you're both wonderful people. So it's like, well, that's pretty cool. Maybe there's something to that.
I don't know about that, but yeah, okay.
Well, I think what it does is if you want to sell a car, you really have to be listening to the people because they're not going to buy something from you that they aren't going to want to drive off the lot. And I know some people will say, "Oh yeah, I sold them this even though they didn't want it." And it's like, "Did you really?" And are they coming back? And what kind of reviews are you getting? To where the other one was, who just listened to what they wanted. And I
Yeah.
found the greatest car for them.
Yeah, I mean,
You
I
know?
think it was Jeffrey Gitomer. I'm going to give him credit because I think I read it from him. Jeffrey Gitomer is a famous sales coach, and he may have gotten it from somebody else. I don't know, but I'm going to use him. I'm going to give him the credit. He said, and I agree with him. People people don't like to buy from. No, people don't want to be sold to. They want to buy from. They don't want to be sold to. They want to buy from. In other words, if they're sold a bill of goods, they really won't brag about it. But if they buy something, they'll tell you about it. And so here's the corollary that I've come up with, and this is what I've used. I use this a lot. There's no guarantee if you're nice to your clients and your customers that they will tell everybody how nice you are. There's no
Right.
guarantee that will happen, right? You just got to be nice and hope they tell somebody. They might not. You You can't bet on it. You can't guarantee it. You just don't know. However, I guarantee you treat them like crap, excuse my French, garbage. You pull the wool over their eyes, you bamboozle them, you rip them off till the day they die or you die, whichever comes first. They will tell everybody and their enemies how bad you are. And that's, if you're in sales, you can't afford that. You need a pipeline. You need a sales force out there, a feet on the street, if you will, of people touting you, not cutting you at the knees, right? Because they'll remember what happened, the day it happened, the weather, what you were wearing, and this every specific detail of that. And what I'm telling you right now, people, when people ask, when I say that to people, they go, yeah, I went to XYZ store and I got sold a bill of goods, or I got ripped off, or they pulled the wool, right? And they talk about it like it was, right? But the nice salespeople, the great conversations, maybe they remember. But you know what? And this goes back to, let's go back to Dale Carnegie. Every conversation you have when you're in sales, or even when you're not, even when you're a human being, you're planting seeds. Those seeds will germinate more plants. Hopefully. Hopefully. Here's a challenge. And this is why I think there's a lot of corn in the cornfields, because when the farmers plant those seeds, they have no idea which seeds are going to take root and which seeds will get blown by the wind, which seeds will get eaten by the birds, which ones will maybe take root but die from disease, whatever the case may be. So they don't know, because you can't tell by looking at a seed.
No.
So you toss them all out, right? You pray, you plan for the worst and you hope for the best. And so by the harvest time, there's a cornfield, right? Same thing with us when we're out with people. Plant seeds that are good and genuine and sincere and authentic, and hope that they take root. And if they don't, here's what I tell people. I go to bed at night. I put my head on the pillow and I go to sleep. I don't worry about or wonder, who did I rip off? Who did I bamboozle? Who did I pull the wool over the rock? I go to sleep. I did what I could. I did my best. I hope people talk about me in a good way. I hope. And if they don't, okay. If they talk bad about me, that's their choice, not mine. But I can't worry about that. I'm, like William Shakespeare said, to thine own self be true. And that's what I do. That's what I do. I treat others like I want to be treated.
Yeah. Yeah. And you've got to. What is it? And I'm sorry, I don't remember who said this, but people may forget what you look like. They may forget your name, but they will always remember how you treated them.
Maya Angelou.
Yeah. Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
Absolutely.
And it's true.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I love that you go to sleep at night not worrying about it. A lot of times we worry too much, and the worry isn't getting us anything. What is it the Bible verse says? Can you add a day to your life by worrying? It's like, no. So why do it? My mom worried a lot, and it's like, why? I never saw a purpose for it. She didn't worry herself into sickness or anything, but she was always worried about this or worried about that, and it's like,
and almost all the things we worry about never happen anyway.
oh yeah,
right?
It's not there. And there's a difference between preparing and taking care of yourself and worrying. Worrying, it's out of your hands, so let it be.
I agree. Serves no function, serves no purpose. It really doesn't. We waste a lot of cycles, waste a lot of energy, and for what? To know that, right? Like I said, the sun will come out tomorrow.
That's right. I was talking with a friend of mine who's actually helping me and do some work, and my friend says, "How are you doing today?" And I go, "Yeah, it's not one of those days." and he goes, "Oh no," but I said, "You know what? It'll be different tomorrow. It's not going to last. We'll get over it and we'll have a different day." Here it is, afternoon, having a bitter afternoon already and enjoying it. It's just attitude. I know sometimes things get you frustrated, but it's like sometimes you just got to let it go and say, yeah, it's frustrated. What can I do about it? It may always be there in your mind because you're trying to solve a problem, but don't let it overtake you. Don't let it cause you to get so wound up that you end up taking it out on somebody else, because we are responsible for our own actions, not for the actions of others.
I've read that. Yeah. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
again, it serves no function. And I'm at the point now where I'm like, you know what? You really got to upset me to upset me
Yeah.
because I don't have the time, the bandwidth, the energy, the desire to fight and argue and worry and get frustrated. I'm like, it's just what I'm like. I go with the flow.
Yeah.
My resting heart rate is below 50. I'm just
Awesome.
I'm cool, calm, and
Chill.
collected, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I get stressed. Don't get me wrong, I get stressed, right? But
Right.
I'm, what? We're only here so many years. I'm sorry.
That's right. That's
I'm
right.
sorry. Yeah.
And I always look at life, business, anything we're doing is like a river. It just keeps flowing. And you can either run the rapids, you can get out and walk around them, you can sit there and just swirl around in the pools for a
Hmm.
while, or just keep going. You can get off the shore and just take a break.
Yep.
It's got to take care of yourself too. And you can be afraid of those rapids that are up ahead, or you can prepare and enjoy them, or prepare and get out, carry your boat with you to the other side, then try it again. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I'll tell you what, in 2026, I think I said this to my kids. I said it to somebody, I don't remember, but in 2026, I remember, and you probably do as well, when you needed to know something, you went to the library. You had to get up and go to the library to
Oh,
get
before 2026.
right,
Yeah,
right
this is
before.
2026. Yeah.
Yeah, no, but now that's it. But now, I mean, everything's at our fingertips. And so
Yeah.
if I'm
It's
struggling with something or I don't know how to get
all
something
right here.
exactly, I
Yeah.
just a couple of buttons and a push, and and I can get almost any answer I want to any question I have. And okay, that's not a big
Instantly.
gig. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not a big gig. It's not a bad thing to put your thumb up to or thumb your nose at, if you will. But on the other hand, I think sometimes we spend too much time looking at the screens when we have a whole world out there that is just waiting for us to partake in it, and we don't because we got this thing attached to our arms sometimes that is just enough already.
Yeah.
Enough. So
When I was young, I loved listening to the older people talk, those in their 70s and 60s, because they had to invent. I mean, the quote that was being easily passed around at that time was necessity is the mother of invention.
right.
That if you didn't have it, you had to go invent it. You
Yeah.
had to create it. You had to make it. Well, now everything is available to us. If you want something, go to Amazon. If you want to find something else, Google it. You know, you hardly ever invent anything on your own, and it's really too bad. I mean, it's really nice. I installed a toilet yesterday.
Good for
So
you.
nice to have a working toilet.
Good
That
for
we have
you.
two in our house, so it's just not as bad as you think.
Right.
But it was nice to be able to do that on my own
Uh-huh.
and have it work. But if I needed something, I could have done that. One of the tubing thing was broken, and I had to have my husband bring one home. But it's like, if I didn't, I didn't have to. I don't know. I guess the reason for telling that is sometimes we just got to get in there and get our hands dirty. We don't rely on everything else to do it for us.
Exactly.
And, um, I had, so we're talking about the mother invention. Okay, necessity's mother invention. I had this nesting boxes, took out of the chicken shed. We don't have chickens. My granddaughter wanted a rabbit. We got a couple of rabbits, so they're not alone. But now I had this chicken box. A neighbor, a boy, 5 years old. He's learning how to take care of chickens. So
Nice.
asked him if he wanted it. Sure, he wants it. So I thought, here it is, but he doesn't really have any way to do it. So I put boards on it to make it a stand and boards across it. And so here I didn't invent it, but I created this
Creative.
nest box
Yeah.
that stands on the ground
Yeah.
so he can just look inside there and get the eggs or whatever and take care of his chickens. And it was great. And that's what I love about serving somebody else is I got to do something fun. I got to help him have something that he's going to use and learn skills with, as he's growing up. Um, and and it makes him happy. I
Yeah.
mean, he was just thrilled to be able to get something like that. I'm not sure if he really understood what nesting boxes were because they didn't have any there, but he'll understand it.
He'll figure it out. Yeah, he'll figure it
You
out.
know,
Yeah, good for
I
him. How
I
old
don't
is
think
it? How old did you say he was? 5?
he's 5. Yeah,
5.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't think anything makes me happier than helping somebody else get what they want. That's why I help people write their books. That's why I have podcasts. That's why I do, like I've got the Giving book now because everything from all the sales from Amazon and my own personal sales goes to a nonprofit.
Nice.
So everything about that book is giving to somebody else.
Mhm.
And I can't think of a better thing to do than just serve people. And it does come back to you, you know.
I'm convinced. I jokingly, it's not jokingly, I say to people, in the restaurant named Karma, they don't serve any food. You just get what you deserve.
There you go. You get
Right?
what you serve.
You get what you deserve. Yeah. So it's yeah.
Yeah, you
I
get
give
your
I
just
give
desserts.
I give I give way more. I give way more than I receive. And no,
Yeah,
I give a lot without any. I don't keep track. Is what I'm saying. I don't keep
there
track.
you
I don't
go.
keep score. The universe will take care
Doesn't
of that for
matter.
me. It
Yeah,
doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
unending. It's unlimited. It's an unlimited store, if you will. And I'm
yeah.
happy to give.
And
Happy to give.
anytime I've needed something, it's been there,
Right.
you know.
Yeah.
Or if I've needed somebody to talk to or bounce ideas off of, there's always somebody there. There's
Mhm.
always something there. And sometimes it really surprises you that you're thinking about, wow, you know, I would really need this, but I'll keep doing it this way, and all of a sudden, there you have it. I mean,
It's
it's
interesting you
just
say that.
amazing.
Again, I talk to a lot of I talk to a lot of people that are unemployed. I'm involved in a lot of networking groups, and I always my first clue that somebody is really frustrated and not doing it right is when they say to me, "I sent out 137 resumes last week and I haven't heard back from anybody."
Wow.
Right. So that's my first reaction. Wow. But then my second reaction is, well, those 137 resumes you sent, I'm betting are to people you did not know and probably not even read by a human, probably read by a machine, which is fine.
Yeah.
You should be going to your network. Yeah, my network. No, no, not the network you know of, the network you had that you forgot about, the people you went to grade school with, the people you lost touch with, the people who, when you and they were growing up, the internet wasn't even a word, right? You need to go back to those people because here's what's going to happen. And I've done this as well, and I can attest to this. You call up somebody you haven't seen since second grade, and what's going to happen is for the first 2 hours, you're just going to reminisce about all the stuff that happened that you can remember in those early formidable years. And then the next hour is going to be, so what are you doing lately? What have you done? And then finally it's going to be, so what are you doing now?
Right.
And I suggest to job seekers that relationship, that conversation is probably going to lead you to a good place because now somebody who has missed you and has cared about you but didn't know where you were really wants to help you. And I tell people, everybody you meet knows 250 people you don't know. Those 250, you know, an additional 250. So right out of the gate, there's 500 potential conversations that could take you in the right place, as
Yes.
opposed to sending 137 resumes to who knows who, right?
Yeah.
And I'm a firm believer in that. And just you want somebody to take your resume, walk it in to Sally's office, and say, "You got to talk to my friend Billy. He's your guy." Billy, it's yours to lose, but you got to go sell yourself. But now
You go.
you've now bypassed all those other resumes that got sent by all these other people who didn't know what else to do. And I think there's a lot of value in those networks and those people who you haven't seen in not years, decades.
Yeah.
Have fun.
Definitely.
Yeah, I think they'd love to hear from you, and I'm sure you'd love to hear it from them. Right?
So I want to ask you, because we've talked about this, but we haven't ever really addressed it directly. How do you sell yourself? What are some key points that people should look at within themselves?
Oh, boy, that's a really good question.
It's a tough one, I know.
Yeah, but I mean, you got to be yourself. You can't put on airs. You
Right.
got to be, again, I go back to being genuine, authentic, and sincere. Treat people like you want to be treated. When I was in sales training for one of the companies I worked for, I remember this like it was an hour ago. The instructor said to us, if you're having a conversation with somebody and you hear yourself sounding like a snake oil salesman, or you're saying things that you wouldn't want a salesperson to say to your mother, assuming you love your mother, stop what you're saying, pretend the person you're talking to is your mother, and act accordingly. I
Okay.
still do that. I still act that way. I still treat people like they're my mom. I did love her, God bless her, and rest her soul. But you know what? Yeah, what are you doing trying to ram stuff down people's throats, right?
Yeah.
You can't sell, oh, please buy another widget so I can take my spouse to a Broadway play. Customer's like, I don't need a widget. And I don't care about
Yeah.
your Broadway play, right? What about me? Go back to what I said when we first started.
Yeah.
It's not about the salesperson. It's about the person you're talking to that you're trying to sell. And you're not trying to sell them, you're trying to help them. It just
Right.
happens you're selling them, but really what you're doing is helping them. You are in fact their servant.
Yep.
And with that servant mentality you brought up before, with a servant mentality, you're in a different place. You're in a different head. You're like, how can I help you? Right?
Right.
In the hopes that if I help you, you'll help me. In the
Right.
hopes. But that's, I
Or
mean,
you'll
I'm
tell somebody about me that will help you. Yeah.
right.
Keep it
Exactly. Again,
going.
you need that sales force, those feet on the street of your. They used to many of the places I used to work at. They used to send me to the irate customers.
Oh, yeah.
Oh boy, yeah, because I have the patience. I have the patience of a saint. I have the heart of a second grade teacher, and I have a sense of humor that rivals any Borscht Belt comedian. Okay, I'm not Henny Youngman. I'm not Jackie Mason, but I have a sense of humor. So when I would go talk to these irate customers, I gave them the floor. I let them vent. I told them, yeah, we made mistakes. Yeah, bad, shame on us, right? How can we make you better? How can we fix this? How can we rec? So I would take these irate customers and turn them into raving fans. Not all of them, but some
Right.
of them. Some of them.
Yeah.
And you know, at the car dealership, we had a woman who was sold a bill of goods. She was sold a truck that didn't work. It wasn't right for her. It broke down. It cost her a lot of money. She was really mad. She was going to go to the Better Business Bureau. Joey, go talk to her. I went to go talk to her. She bought two trucks,
Oh, wow.
one for her and one for her daughter, after
There
about a
you
4 hour
go.
conversation. Not
No.
rocket science.
Yeah.
It's
And
not rocket
sometimes,
science. You got to help your client, your prospect, the person you're working with. It's in your best interest to take care of them.
that's
Again,
right.
because
That's right.
I think that if you take care of them, they might take care of you.
Yeah. And the thing you have to think of is if you're saying something and they're just not hearing you, stop yourself and think of what you said and see if there's a different approach to saying it. I remember when I was working for Sears and we had a customer come in, some tire wasn't right or something, and my manager was talking to the customer and it just couldn't get through to him. And so I said, "Can I give it a try?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I said, "Look at it this way." And I just had a different approach. I said exactly the same thing. I
Yeah.
just said it differently. And the customer was like, "Oh, I get it. Sure. Yeah, let's go do that then."
Yeah.
And my manager was like, "I don't get it. You said exactly the same thing I did." And I said, "But I phrased it differently so he could hear it." And not that I was a wise genius back in my 20s, but it was something that I had actually learned from somebody else who said if they don't understand, see if there's a different way that you can phrase it.
Right.
And it's helped me a lot through my life. Yeah. So we're so close to the hour. Joy, how do people get a hold of you?
The best way is on LinkedIn. I think I'm the only Joey Himelfarb on LinkedIn of the 1 billion people that are on there. I think that's the best way to find me. Um, my contact information is in there as well. Please reach
Okay.
out, say hello, say you heard this podcast or watched it, and maybe I can help you in some way, shape, or form. Who knows?
Okay, that's great. So it's Joey Himmel,
Himelfarb,
H-I-M.
Himelfarb,
Okay, good.
and I think I'm the only ghostwriter named Joey Himelfarb on
There you
LinkedIn.
go. Yeah, and if you want to know what a ghostwriter is, get a hold of Joy or get a hold of me. Either one of us will let you know. And it's not scary like you might think.
Right.
All right. Thanks so much for being on my show. I really appreciate it. Thank your audience for being here. Like I said, get a hold of either one of us. You want to find out more about how to talk to people. You want to find out about how to get your book written, finally get it going. And it really is an easier process. If you're short on time, we do have solutions to help you. So we'll see you next time on Wisdom on the Front Porch. Thank you.
Hasta la vista, baby.
Thank you, my Front Porch friends and neighbors, for pulling up a chair with me and my guest today on Wisdom on the Front Porch. Now, if you've got value from this conversation, would you do me a favor? Leave a quick review, then share it with someone you know who could use some inspiration. It helps more friends find their seat on the porch. And hey, make sure you're subscribed so you never miss what's next. Until then, keep the porch light on for new wisdom every time you show up. Your seat's always here for you on the porch.